It frets me heart, it racks me brew, it sets me head a stewing. A man as wouldna do a foeman up and get a doing.
We are, first of all, in Astley Park in Charlie, next to the noble old hall, and we are today in the refurbished coach house with the final event of our 3-year lottery supported project, The Noise We Mek. We started in Bursker, moved along the canal towards Wigan, into Charlie, ended up in Blackburn, recording tales, stories from local people all along the way and picking up on the local dialects and accents. I want people to take away an appreciation of the history of Lancashire and its dialects. What we had all those years ago and that is still with us. We've still got fading memories, distant echoes of these old dialects. And if they take anything away from here at all, it'll be appreciation of Lancashire's history.
The rivers change direction across the great divide.
And you were one of 200 or 300 people that we've recorded over the last 3 years. So did you enjoy it?
I did. We had a good laugh. All over yesterday's, you can't beat them.
Oh no.
I've had a little week listening to that again about my grandma, my mother. I had to call her grandma, that's why we got mixed up a lot.
Yeah?
And we had to call her mother. And my mum would only be called mother, she wouldn't be called grandma. I don't know what that is, some sort of fetish.
Oh, well.
Queer, isn't it?
Well,
there's no queerer than four.
No.
Only mirror four.
Especially not in Hindley.
No, there's not.
There's some rumans in Hindley. I've spent some time in Hindley.
Have you?
Oh, aye, yes.
I don't care where you go, where I go on my holidays, we always finish up laughing. Because of my accent. They think I'm on stage. They think I'm making it. I said they don't know it's the natural gift. That's the gift. That's my legacy. They didn't leave me money, they left me an accent.
Have you had a listen to yourself?
Yeah, it's great. I've had a little week too with it.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying yourself here, and I'm glad you enjoy being part of it, and thank you very much.
Oh, I'm glad
to you and to your kind neighbours who fetch you today. Well, have a nice time here anyway.
Right, thank you very much.
I'll let you go and get a cup of tea.
Sydney, I'll give you a Sunday name.
Is the captain of her, and they say that she's afloat in shame. So farewell, my old true love, on the way return united we will be. It's not the Lady of Liverpool.
what we've done is we've got the whole recordings that we've done over the last 3 years for the project and put them on computer, and Chris, who's our archivist, has also cut them up into sections, so there's bits about war years, bits about work, family, religion, all sorts of things. And people can come up here and they can listen to their own clips, and they can also compare them to people who lived in different areas, so they can get an idea of how accents are changing as well. As I think we assume that all accents are disappearing, or at least if they're not disappearing, then they're levelling out to be just a general northern accent. And I think from these recordings we can see that it is happening, definitely, but we still have a variety of accents within Lancashire, not just the same one. So that's what I hope to take out of it, and I hope other people will. But also just the enjoyment of the project, what we've been doing, and the interest in the area, really.
Tiny skips running our with left, snowy flock riding on the thing. Like a good slip of wine and brushes, flying dust and we're not the same. Lads and lasses standing in rows, working away from home till late. Centres, bombs, halfpence and shows, running about on the nimble feet. Keeping time to a steady tune, played with things and only till dark. And giant big granny keeps a scoon, who has no money scholars yet who's not with 1 or 2. This third woman's rare the cross, and well it may be so. I know who's boxed me really once and pooed me ears and all. At number 2 lives Widow Burns, who wishes clues for folk. Their Billy, that's her son, gets jobs at Wheeling Coke. This Senate courts with salmon heads that lives at number 3. It may be so, I cannot tell, it matters now to me. There was one great big lion called Wallace, whose nose was all covered in scars, and he lay in a somnolent posture with the side of his face on the bars. Now Albert had heard about lions, how they was ferocious and wild, and to see Wallace lying so peaceful, well, it didn't seem right to the child. So straightway the brave little fella, not showing a morsel of fear, took his stick with its horse's head handle, and he shoved it in Wallace's ear. You could tell that the lion didn't like it, but giving a kind of a roll, he pulled Albert inside the cage with him and swallowed the little lad. Oh.
Snook, a good wife and a book are more to the likings of me. With me pickers and me peasants, with me wellers to me shins, me linder in shuttle and yale do. Me trebles and sticks, me white rope and me bricks, what a life, said the waver, a well-brewed.
Men to try, when I've mended the stockings and shirts, I sit down to knit in a shear, and I really did feel rather hurt.
Well, hi, I'm Chris Pollington. I've edited all these recordings that people are here listening to, and I suppose what I've been talking to them about is the value of all these recordings, of telling the history of their lives and the whole and the area. So I think if they've come today, they can see how it's all come together. And we've got the web-based recordings, we've got the DVD-based recordings, we've got the videos, and what they'll see is there's this vast library of work, this great collection, which will be put into libraries, and they can go in the future to libraries and access it. So it's an information point for them, really, that we've been able to show them all this today.
Walk up, see the house of mystery, ladies pay a tanner, be tickled in the dark. In when the women say, nee, but this is cheap. Sure, we pulled the lever and they all fell in a heap. Through a hole they shot, and when they got to the bottom there were frills and phalanxes everywhere. The girls started screaming, it caused a lot of strife. I never saw so many legs and stockings in my life. I saw some funny things I'd only seen upon the wife of the rotten soul annual fair. Walk up, come and see the mermaid, all alive, alive, and half a woman, half a fish. In went the fellas, just to show it wasn't swank. Little Johnny Higgins poured some whiskey in the tank. Well, she got so frisky when she swam in the whiskey, and the first time she come up for air, she bumped in the audience, gave her tail a swish. Her tail tumbled off and she really looked delish. She shouted, "What you fancy, a bit of meat or a bit of fish?" at the Ronsall Annual Fair. She was very fond of dancing, but allow me to remind that one fine day she danced away with the calico princess bride. She was very fond of dancing, but allow me to remind that one fine day she danced away. Well, the ladies left their tables and began to dance with fright. They shouted out in panic at the little ferret's sight. He nibbled at their stockings and he tickled all their knees, and the vicar's wife kept shouting, "Give me some of that, please." So I was there, so were you, the mayor and the vicar and the council too, with their wives and the ladies on full view. The night John Willie took his ferret to the do. He ran up and down the curtains and he swam about the punch. He herded all the ladies in a corner in a bunch. And then to end the escapade he did a little quickie. He ran up the speaker's dinner suit and nibbled at his collar. So were he, the mayor and the vicar and the council too, with their wives and the ladies on full view. The night John Willie took his ferret, he shall die.
Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon. And thank you all very much for coming to this, our final event of our 3-year The Noise We Mek project. It's grand to see you all. And so many of you are now archived for all time. There is a reason for all this, yes. Well, out of the whole thing in the last 3 years, and I don't know how many of you were in it right at the very beginning with us, but we decided to launch this in 4 different events along the track of our canal. And we started off in Parbold Library with an evening there, and then we moved to Wigan Museum, and then we came next door into the wonderful old Astley Hall, and then we finally ended up in Blackburn Library, and just telling people what we were doing and what we were planning to do. And a lot of people looked at us out of one eye and said, "Oh aye, here's another one of them good ideas." But it's worked. And we've done performances and concerts along the way to stimulate people to start talking with their old accents and dialects, because there's no gets you going more than hearing somebody else talking their accent. Because you hear them start using lots of out forgotten words, and you start thinking, I know some of them, and my dad used to say this and my grandma used to say that, and it just gets folk going and thinking in right direction. And along the way, as well as various performances, we've been into some schools along our route, and I've had some great times teaching little school children and larger school children how to talk in the old dialect, and I was in a school in Shevington just before Christmas, and I'd spent about an hour talking to these 14 or 15-year-old youngsters about old dialects and how it worked and what the old words were, and we played about with words for old animals. And in the last 5 minutes I said to them, right, I'm going to leave now, so think about it, and how would you say, I am going to leave? And it started, and it were like magic, because out of the mouths of these 14 and 15-year-old kids come one of them who says, I'm bound to go. And somebody else said, I'm bound for to go. And I thought, what's happening here? I'm bound for to go. What an ancient way of putting your sentence together, that lad in Shevington still knew. And it really made me think that it is all worthwhile. And then one lad said, but they won't let us talk like that in schools. And I said, they will now, now as I've been. And we've done shows in schools, we've done shows in museums and out folks clubs and all sorts. And it's great to bring it all together today and to have one big dialect day of everything that we've done and all the people that were here when we started it. So I shall hand over now to you.
Thank you.
Who knows more about what's going on than me.
Don't you think so? You can go over there now.
I'll sit there now.
I shall just turn around. We couldn't have done this without a bit of help financially, because one of the things we were after was to make sure that whatever we did record was recorded in very good quality. Chris is going to come on to the technicalities of that later on, but we decided that it would be advantageous if we got in touch with the Heritage Lottery Fund and asked them for a grant. We got a list of things that we wanted and a list of things that we wanted to do, put it down on the form, sent it off, and it got refused for whatever reason, and we all went, oh. But were we downhearted? No, we weren't. We had another go. They said it's a very good, we like what you're doing, it's a very good project, but can you just tweak it a little bit, in one way or another? So we did, and eventually we did get a grant from the Heritage Lottery Fund. And the sort of things we were wanting to buy were things like this, and I know the people who've been recorded will have seen this, which is instead of the old big reel-to-reels and cassette players that they had in the past, they're now on these things, which is a digital recorder. Everything gets recorded onto an SD card, which is the sort of thing you put in your camera on one of them, and I can get 80 hours of broadcast quality on one of those, which with tape would have been impossible because you'd have been changing the tape all the time. This has got microphones in it, but we wanted some better ones, and so we bought one of these. This is a shotgun microphone, and what happens is I can put it here and I can talk to Maggie, and Maggie's voice will go straight down the barrel of this thing, which is why it's called a shotgun microphone, and it will be picked up, and very little will be picked up from the sides, so you don't get any ambience of the room or anything else going on. You do get a little bit, it's not perfect, but you do get a little bit. But this is probably one of the best quality microphones that we could get for this particular project. It's got a little, I could give that a saucer of milk, it's the windsock. Give it a stroke now and again. So we've got the equipment, we needed some people. So what we did, we had some launch events. Parbold was one of them, very good launch event there, as were all the other venues we went to. We were surprised how many people were interested in coming. And so we got names and addresses, and Barbara and myself went out, we rang them all up and said, when can we come? And we got all sorts of appointments made, went out over the last 2 or 3 years and stuck microphones in front of everybody, recorded their memories, which we've all put together now as part of these CD collections or DVD collections, which will be presented eventually to the North West Sound Archive and several libraries around the area where we've been. Thank you very much indeed everybody who has contributed to all this. You're down there forevermore, as Sid has said. And now I'm going to hand over to Chris, who's going to give you a little bit of technical detail as to what has actually happened with these recordings.
Well, as Mark's pointed out, one of the things that was important to me was the good quality that we would achieve, rather than just using any old bit of equipment. So we spec'd up, as Mark said, with proper modern digital equipment, because the word future-proof was important to me. We had to make something, this archive has to be something that people will be able to listen to in years to come. I'm not talking centuries, but certainly years to come. So we recorded 2 high-quality MP3s for use on computers, because everybody uses those now, and also, of course, the videos. And, we use the DVD format, but also the files are on the internet, courtesy of Martin, for people to access. So those are the formats that we used. The quality of the recordings, as you'll see from this example of mine, here's the kind of problem we had when you were recording, say, in the 1980s.
My name is Phyllis Smith.
Notice the
I
hum.
am 65 years old, and I've lived in Burscough all my life. I was born at Crabtree, the house next door to the Slipway.
Now,
and my
things
family were
improved by the 1990s, so that you got a
Well, he was born in
better quality here. This
1898,
is Hilda Birch.
and he left school at 12 years
The
of
hum's
age,
gone, the woolliness has
and
gone.
went working
We've
for
got a
his
better
father
clarity.
on the
We haven't
barge.
got a really sharp
Thomas. And
This one will move into a recording which I did of Mary, I edited of Mary B, and Mark recorded her, and I then put it through my equipment. I used an iMac running Logic Pro 9, so for technical people that's got all sorts of plugins and gizmos and highly professional things, and then was from those files, which we call finalised, pushed up to really high quality, so that we were trying to get the best quality we could. You'll see how the signal changes.
they carried wool from Liverpool to the Yorkshire Mills.
Well, there were 2 of them on the boat. They were all a lot of brothers, and they were in 2s. Dad worked with Uncle George for a long time, and they were iron barges.
Now that greater power that that recording has is what we wanted to build into these particular recordings. So at the end of the day, Mark and Barbara spent a lot of shoe leather taking the raw recordings on the Marantz using the Rode microphones. Last September I was presented with them. I've spent till last weekend working with about 142 complete recordings, some of them lasting an hour and a half, some as few as about 25 minutes, but many around an hour. And from that I've developed about 1,700 clips, which people have been listening to this morning of themselves, little stories they've told about the war, about their growing up by the canal, or being on a farm, or working with horses or whatever. Hundreds, about 1,700 of those, and it's been finalised onto this product here, which we're going to put in libraries and present to the NWSA in a minute. And there are videos, my audio clips, and complete recordings on it. And I think those will be for evermore, I hope. Thank you very much.
Right, finish off. People have asked why we chose this area of Lancashire to record, and basically we had to choose somewhere, and we needed a corridor to choose, because what is particularly interesting for linguists or historians is to see how ways of life and how the accent changes from a rural area. So we started in Burscough, moved to Wigan, which isn't rural, then we came out towards Chorley, Adlington, the villages around there, and on up to Blackburn, which is urban again. So we could traditionally, agricultural areas, rural areas, are the people who speak the strongest dialect. So that was one question that we could find out whether that was still true. And we could tell also whether people in towns were more likely to lose their accents and all those sort of things when these recordings eventually get analysed and worked on. The other thing we were looking at was how accents are changing from older people to younger people. So we have been very lucky that we've had some children and then going up through the generations, and in some cases it's been families where we've had grandparents, parents and children that we've been able to look at. So you can see how the children's accents have also been affected by all the outside things that we have. We go on holiday, we go away, we mix with people who aren't from the area anymore, we watch television, we watch masses of American things. Some children that I've worked with couldn't really tell the difference between an American accent and an English accent because they're so used to hearing it, or an Australian accent, and that to many of us is absolutely amazing, but it is true. So we've been able to look at that, and what else have we done?
Reading.
Oh yes, the reading passage. That's another question that I get asked a lot of times. You were all that have been interviewed were given a reading passage, and this is simply so that when people at university or wherever they're doing their study, they can hear people talking normally, and then they can hear people saying exactly the same words, because you might want to hear how somebody finishes a word when it's in front of a certain sound, and everybody can do that. The trouble is, of course, that people aren't very relaxed when they're reading from a form, but at least we are getting the same words spoken. And also I put in, you probably remember, a couple of phrases in a sort of dialect. One was sturdy sen, and the other one was sturdy sen put kettle on, and the other one was about putting horse muck in your boots. And I put that in for a couple of reasons. One was to see how many people could actually say it, because they're quite alien phrases to many people. And the other one was to actually stimulate people to talk about the dialect, how people talked when they were younger. And I find the best way of doing it, as Sid was saying before, is to speak it yourself, or to get an example spoken. And we've just got so many things, haven't we, of people saying fantastic phrases and memories of a dialect that's now only written down in old books that Sid reads and things like that. Old books like Sid, sorry. I didn't quite mean it like that. So basically that was why we put that at the end of it. The whole project has been fascinating, and I think for historians, people tracing their families, people who are interested in the language and the change of language and variation, are just going to find it such an amazing resource, and I can't thank you all enough for taking part. It's been fantastic, it really has, and you all deserve a round of applause. Thank you. Over to Chris, I think.
Right. Well, as I said in my little spiel, the main recipients of the archive that I've prepared, rather than the ones that people who sign up for, the main recipients are libraries and, of course, the North West Sound Archive, which we think is a very important resource for the kind of work we've been doing. And that's why, as you'll see from the photographs, Barbara, Mark and myself went up there to get training very early on. Well, was it well over 3 years ago, amazingly enough. It's been a long time coming, this project. This moment's been a long time. And so I'm very pleased on behalf of the Lancashire Society, Noise We Mek Project, a Heritage Lottery, to present a copy to the North West Sound Archive. Thank you. And we also have with us Maggie from Parbow Library, and we decided that the libraries along the canal in the various towns like Wigan and Chorley, Parbow, would be receiving this for their own resource in the library. So I'd like to present this to Maggie. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for this. We certainly enjoyed being involved. As you say, we were the first place you held one of your events. Thoroughly enjoyed by everybody that came along, and we're very grateful for you for holding the event there. It was wonderful. I did do a little bit of a talk about it. I was quite nervous, as I am now, but Mark soon made you feel at ease, and the whole thing has been very enjoyable, and I'm sure this will be very, very popular in the library. We have had Mark back to the library since, and he's done an event for Lancashire Day for us last year.
Very well attended it was too.
Yeah, well, we're hoping we might see him again from time to time. As I say, it always brings people in, and we're always very pleased with him. Thank you very, very much.
Yes. For those of you that don't know, North West Sound Archive, we collect recordings, oral history, radio, music, dialect, sounds, anything that can be recorded in the North West, and we cover Lancashire, Greater Manchester and Merseyside, and we've got about 150,000 recordings, and if you wanted to listen to everything, we're not slave drivers. You can work Monday to Friday 9 to 5. We'll even give you an hour off for lunch if we're feeling kind, but it will take you over 100 years to listen to everything. And we are only a small unit covering that area, so we can't record everything that we'd like to record, so it's projects like this that we're extremely grateful for basically in a lot of ways doing our work for us, because a lot of these memories, dialect, everything would be lost if it wasn't for projects such as this. So we're just delighted to accept the recordings. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much. You may well have noticed that I, at the moment, and many of you during the course of today, have had cameras pointed at you. Right, our friends that we first met on the way through this project as students at the University of Central Lancashire, media students, and they made a film of me and Jack Smith walking along canal. Jack's back with his head down. And I think we interviewed one another, didn't we? For a day, wandering along canal between Burstall and Blackburn, and they did such a good job of it that we invited them back today to record a feeling of this event, and they have now developed their organisation, and they are now known as 12 Monkey Media, although there's only 3 of the monkeys here today. And to be honest, if you want any filming doing around, and I've been filmed by BBC and all sorts, then have a word with Tom later on today, because he's very little trouble and easy to organise. So if you see him going round pointing cameras at you, just smile and answer the questions as we go through today. In 10 minutes' time, I start again downstairs with a bit of a dialect performance of the old and ancient Lancashire dialects, and then there'll be a bit more clog dancing and a bit more music, and then we're all going to have a go at reading Lancashire dialect, like I did with them 14-year-old kids in Shevington. So I'll see you down there later on. Thank you very much.
They did with the music.
You've already got a reputation.
They did, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think it was Irish.
It's got a catchy chorus.
Oh, yeah, join it. I'm leaning